We're headed back to the Alpine Loop. We have a few goals on this trip. First is to take the Land Moto Electric Scrambler over as many mountain passes as possible and document how it does along the way. We're going to try out multiple battery configurations to see how this bike does at elevation and in this environment. Second is to take a group of our friends who have never seen elevation up some of the biggest mountain passes you can drive in Colorado. Joining us are our neighbors Aiden and his dad Jerry, both of which are in the mining industry, so this area holds some pretty big fascination for them. Also, a neighbor Brent, who's in the distilling industry back home in Kentucky. And last but not least, returning for the third time, Braxton Clavens with Welcome to the Outdoors. After a full day of driving, this journey begins in the Velocity Basin above Silverton.
What up?
All the years we've camped here, we just discovered it. I'll be coming back here to spend more time up near the water. There was another group there that already claimed it. We pack up relatively early and head down to our base camp in Silverton, Colorado. For the first part of our trip, we're going to be using the two half batteries that go into the Land bike. So we have to pull the one big main battery and put the two halves in with a little divider. Next, everybody airs down for a more comfortable ride on the trail. We pull the bike off in Eureka, right below Animas Forks. If you've watched our other videos, you know that we love coming in and out of the Alpine Loop area via this route. After days of driving to get here, us on our Gladiator, Aiden in his Bronco, and Braxton on the bike, we're finally on the trail. I wish I could see this place with fresh eyes like these new guys are. We make the switchback turn to Picayune Gulch. In all my years of going here, we've never touched this trail. I'm excited to see what it has to offer. Almost immediately, we're greeted with a 26% grade, and Braxton quickly finds out that Mode 4 on the motorcycle is too powerful. Mode 2 is considered moped mode with a little bit of torque, and on this steep incline, it's just like crawl control. The first mine we come across is Treasure Mountain Mine. It's in the Eureka mining district, and it mostly mined copper, gold, lead, and silver. After a short stop, we continued up the pass. The fast-moving shadows from the clouds made this place pretty majestic, and for only the second time, we saw a few hundred sheep grazing in the mountains above us. And from this vantage point, we could see Animus Forks, Cinnamon Pass, and Imogene Pass. We have reached 12,700 feet in elevation, and so far, pretty much straight up 4,000 feet. top, we stop to check out Parson Lake for a minute. As we start to head down the valley, we can see mines scattering around the rim of the canyon. Our next stop is Sound Democrat Mill. There were 7 stamp mills used to crush the ore to extract the gold. The ore was transported from the mine to the mill via aerial tramway. The mill was built in 1905. Just a short trip down the valley, we go back to Frisco Mill. This mill's structural components were pre-cut, pre-fit, numbered, letter-coded in Silverton, then transported to the site for assembly. Pretty amazing what they could do in 1912. Next, we proceed up California Gulch. After 11 miles and it's over 6,000 feet of elevation change, it was time to change the battery over because we were down to about 20%. Clear skies went away as soon as we started up the hill to California Pass. Coming up and over this pass shows off one of my favorite valleys in the region, Picayune Gulch, that leads up to Lake Como. California Pass, 12,900 feet. As soon as we reach the top, we could see a massive wall of hail coming right at us. For the next 30 minutes, we hunkered down in the cars. We could see the clouds clearing up, so we headed down to Lake Como so the guys could tick off one of their big bucket list items: a cold plunge in a mountain lake. Lake Como being fed by the melting snow still above us, I'd say these guys got a nice little wake-up call. Time to move on and up over to Hurricane Pass, but not before we met a friendly park ranger who was pretty interested in the electric motorcycle. Hurricane Pass, 12,700 feet. Braxton is starting to get the swing of how to ride this thing off-road. With weather coming in, we decided to put the bike back on and get on the road. The secondary battery had around 55% remaining after going up California Gulch, down to Como, and back up to Hurricane Pass. We proceeded in heavy rain towards Corkscrew Pass. Corkscrew Pass, 12,300 feet. Corkscrew Pass goes down into a basin between Red Mountain 1 and Red Mountain 2. I think these are the most beautiful mountains in the San Juans. After getting off of Corkscrew, we headed into the town of Ouray. So of course we had to stop at Ouray Brewing before walking across the street to the world-famous Outlaw Steakhouse and having the best blackened prime rib I have ever had. Also another first for me in this area is stopping and seeing Bear Creek Falls. You might be curious how we charge these motorcycles. We used a Goose Gear rear seat delete in our Gladiator so we can mount everything up. On top of that, we have a 300 amp hour lithium battery charged by a Manager 30 and a Red Arc 1500 watt inverter. From there, we plug the Land Moto charger into the inverter, and that's what charges our motorcycle's batteries. The Land Moto batteries are 72 volts, so they do take quite a bit of power to charge. But between solar and our vehicle running, we have more than enough power. We ended the night with some bourbon and good conversation about the day. The next morning was an early morning. We stopped for coffee, headed back over the $1 Million Highway to Ouray, and started up the trail of Camp Bird Road. Not 3 days before, Imogene Pass had been closed to a landslide.
Might be a shorter day than we thought.
We're still going to try it out. Time to swap the small 2 half batteries for the big Mamma Jamma and see how this thing compares to the 2 halves.
At the base of Imogene with a 100% battery. We're going to see how long it takes to bring it down. Going up there.
When it comes to having fun in the Alpine Loop, Imogene has some of the most challenging and fun little trail obstacles in the area. If you're heading to this area and you only have 1 day to do a pass, Imogene has to be it. I always love breaking the Alpine line. After an hour and a half of trail running, we've made it to Poser Rock. This area was the first time that I'd ever seen a rock glacier. When traveling in areas that you've been to before, or with new people, make sure you let them take as much time as they want to just take it all in. Only 1.5 miles left to the top, and this gets up to a 43% grade. Just before the top, we stop at the Red Mountain Overlook. From here, you can see Corkscrew Pass across the valley. And to the south, you can see this lake that I'm not going to try to pronounce. So far, today's weather could not be more perfect. Next stop, Imogene Pass. Imogene Pass, 13,100 feet. For today, we've gone up 5,796 feet in just 9.5 miles. You'll never guess the battery percentage it took to get to the top of Imogene Pass. The guys are smiles from ear to ear. They are having an absolute blast driving this. Oh, and Brent is deathly afraid of heights, so I made sure that he sat on the passenger side for this section. A short way down on our way to Telluride, we came across the flipped side-by-side, so we winched them back over.
Up there for a second.
This is the only section where it gets truly sketchy. Some of these areas have a 1,000-foot drop-off. And out of nowhere, from just one quick turn, you see Telluride below, deep in the valley. And up in the valley's basin is Black Bear Pass. We were extremely happy that Imogene Pass was actually open. Parked on Main Street Telluride, we got the final battery reading from doing all of Imogene Pass. It only took 10% of the battery to do 15.9 miles and 12,514 feet of elevation change.
Find a parking spot wherever you can around here.
After an awesome lunch and some wandering around, we did 10.5 more miles to the base of Ophir Pass via the highway. From Telluride to Silverton via Ophir, it's only 25 miles. I would consider Ophir the most mild pass that you can do in the area. Ophir Pass, 11,800 feet. From Telluride over Ophir down into Silverton is 25.5 miles with a total of 10,114 feet of elevation change.
So today, riding up to Imogene, I only burnt 5% of the battery, and that was about 2.5 to 3 hours of trail riding. And then after Imogene, going down Imogene into Telluride, I burnt another 5%, maybe, if that. Going downhill, I'm just on brakes. I'm not really using any throttle. And so I was at 90% when we were in Telluride. Rode around Telluride, and we had to drive about 55 to 60 miles an hour to Ophir, which brought the battery down to about 50%. And then going up Ophir, down Ophir, into Silverton, where we're at now, at our camp for a total of 41 miles. I had 35% left on the battery. So I'm just really happy about my experience so far with this bike. Again, most of the battery drainage was because we were going super fast, where we were going highway miles, like I said, 55 to 60 miles an hour. But on the trail, going up Imogene, I only burnt 5%. Now it was 2.5 to 3 hours of riding, like I said before. So on the trail, this bike I think is great. I really like it, and I'm having a blast just really learning it and going faster and being more technical and all that. And I can't wait to ride more.
After a full day of trail riding, everybody was pretty worn out, so it's time just to sit around and have some libations around a campfire. Braxton, being worn out, went ahead and went to bed. Remember when I mentioned Brent was in the distilling industry? This is the bourbon that he helps make. Laughs had and stories recounted, this was the perfect day in the Alpine Loop. The following morning, we had some large visitors at camp before heading out to a pretty unique place. 12 miles later, we land in Animas Forks. The town's first log cabin was built in 1873. And by 1876, the community had become a bustling mining community. At that time, the town contained 30 cabins, a hotel, a general store, a saloon, a post office, and by 1883, 450 people lived in Animas Forks. In 1882, they even had a newspaper, the Animas Forks Pioneer. Back then, the snow got so bad, they would have to dig tunnels between the buildings. Aiden and his dad, Jerry, are both in the mining industry, so they spent quite a bit of time exploring and just chatting it up between each other about how things were done back then. Time to head up to our final destination, Imogene Pass. This may not be the most difficult pass, but it is one of the more beautiful ones. The same guy who built the $1 Million Highway, Otto Mears, built the original road that goes over Imogene Pass. And as luck would have it, as we're having just a great time riding these trails, another giant storm is coming over the range. The old cliche, weather changes on a dime up here, holds true. One second, it's beautiful, sunny and warm. The next, torrential storms. Imogene Pass, 12,800 feet. Seeing the looks on these guys' faces, reaching the top of these mountains, and being able to see farther than they ever have before, you really only experience that once. These guys will be changed forever. I know I was. I can confidently say, electric motorcycles with its no gears, just pure torque, can do the job in any terrain. As for the bike, it only took 32% of the battery to get to the very top, all the way up from Silverton. As the storms rush towards us, we pack the bike back in and head back down to base camp for the night. Rain and all, this was another perfect Alpine Loop trip.